Hello and welcome back. I'm Ken. We're visiting with Mike. Mike, we've talked about lots of different kinds of organizations and some similar tools or principles, common
Yes.
threads. We've talked about ways to keep helpful change going. We've talked about how many levels within your organization need to participate. Where do we go from here?
Well, the question is, you know, it starts with me. What am I supposed to do? How am I supposed to proceed? Um, None of those books really address the thought process that they went through, the checklists that they made, or anything like that. Uh, Except that they had certain beliefs. One of them is that individuals have the potential to do great things. So you have to believe that you can achieve something. And the question then is, well, what am I supposed to do? And then after that, how do you apply some of that also to the rest of the organization, the people around you? Uh, so the first thing would be is to really think about what's your purpose? What are we in for? What are we trying to accomplish? So with each of the guys, Eunice, his purpose was not to necessarily build a bank, even though the bank became very, very successful, but it was more, how do I help people rise from poverty and self-reliance? So there was a altruistic motivation, so that when I look at that, I say, well, it's two things. One is it really hopefully fires up other people around you when they hear what goals or what hopes you have. The same thing with uh, Wilson, the guy that went to Nissan. You could have looked at that, and he says that a bit in his book. He says, well, obviously I wanted to succeed in that job because that hopefully will lead to greater things like becoming president of Renault as compared to just turning around Nissan. Uh, Nehemiah, his objective was not to become governor of the area, but more, how do we stop being a reproach? How can the city of God be really the bright light that it should be? So you have kind of when you set the goals, you have to look at something that really fires people up, including yourself.
Let me interrupt you just briefly. You've referred to five books. Way several weeks ago, we detailed those five books in one of the
Yes,
descriptions. Let me just kind of refresh anybody's memory if they haven't seen that episode or that description. Eunice was involved with microloans in Bangladesh to help
yes,
women who were weaving, working with textiles, rise from poverty and have their own businesses.
yes,
Gosen saw a tremendous transformation at Nissan, and he wrote a book, and we detail
yes.
that book in that earlier episode. Um, what are the other five? We have
There was
Bratton in New York
Nehemiah.
City. Oh,
There
that's
was
right,
a,
Nehemiah. I'm sorry. Nehemiah's in the Bible, and we're rebuilding the walls of Jerusalem. Then
yes,
we have Bratton in New York City. New York City Police
yes.
Department saw an amazing
And there
transformation.
again, it was his main ambition was, how do we improve the quality of life as compared to, well, we're going to crack down on crime, or I'll become such a leader of the police department that I'll become famous, kind of thing.
So he
But
had a higher purpose. He was
yes,
aiming higher than just make the police department better. He
yes.
wanted an improved quality of life for the people of New York City. Thank you.
So then there was Escalante. Escalante was, how do I get the kids, not to see education as the key to their future, but to really change the expectation that everybody had that they'll fail and that's the way it goes, kind of thing, as compared to be, well, I'm going to be the good teacher or something of that sort. So there's a concern about how will what I do will be a service, will be a benefit to other people.
So Escalante wasn't trying to get them to change their minds about education. He was trying to get them to change their minds about their lives and what they could
Yeah,
accomplish.
exactly, exactly.
Okay. That's important to me. Thank you.
So when we look at that, then you say, okay, that's the first thing you've got to do is to say, okay, what am I in for? What is it that I'm trying to do? Okay. Another example that I could use is if, for instance, my grandkids, some of my grandkids, uh, play hockey, and all of them were very good, excellent.
And the statistics show that. That's not just grandpa
Yes,
talking.
yes. No, it's not just
I know
grandpa.
that.
Yeah. So the thing that would be okay. One thing could be, oh, I'll be an NHL player. I'll be a professional player, and therefore make a lot of money. Okay, that's not. It's a yeah, it's a goal, but it's not necessarily how is it going to benefit to other people. If on the other hand he says, I'm going to be such a player that enhances the performance of everybody else on the team, then you have a different kind of reaction. And the statistics show that, because I see some of the kids have a large number of goals and very few assists. And the thing I could say with our youngest grandson and all three of them, they have probably more assists than they had goals, even though goals put them at the top.
And you're proud of their assists, and so am I.
So you've got to have that broader kind of expectation. What is it that I'm in for? And then we talked about goals. There's kind of the easy goal to achieve, intermediate or the highest goal kind of thing. Um, and to try to figure out what would be the easiest thing that we can do, or the thing that we should achieve, with normal performance kind of thing, as compared to, well, if things go well, this is how much we could go, or if we remove all the impediments, what is it could be achieved, kind of. So you've got to be able to figure out their goal from those different kind of perspective. The goals should have those kind of characteristics. Like for instance, Nehemiah, I don't know if he had a goal to finish the wall in 52 days, but he had the goal to get everybody involved, and that worked. Uh, Gosen had with Nissan, he had to turn that company around within 3 years. Well, he did it a lot less time. So, you can see the highest, and then all the in between that could be achieved. And the goals are kind of longer term. So the question is, how do you get there? New Year's resolutions are essentially things that you're going to do, but I would guess that 95% of them never materialize. Why? Because there's no milestones, there's no clear pathway to accomplish that. So you've got to have some kind of a plan with actions. What needs to be done? Who's going to do it? When is it going to be done? It's so that you have some kind of specific kind of way of getting there. You have a journey, and you've got to. It's like a trip. You plan. Okay, well, how many miles are we going to drive today or tomorrow, and where are we going to stay? And you line up some of those things as compared to, oh, now we need to find a hotel or motel or whatever. So you you got to do a to-do list that allows you to figure out your pathway.
And
Yes,
not only does it provide you a pathway, it involves other people. It
yes,
results in buy-in. It results in accountability. It
yep,
it has some wonderful effects that are in addition to the step by step, how do I get where I want to eventually go?
exactly, exactly. So, the other thing is, how do you keep yourself accountable? Well, there's two things that need to be done. One is you need to write it down because if it's not written down, then you can't go back to it and say, okay, did we or didn't we do it? You
You
know,
mean on paper?
yeah. So you have to have some kind of a daily diary that you review after at the end of the day. Okay, did we accomplish what we set out to accomplish, what we were hoping for? Um, and you reflect on what went well and what didn't go well, and you try to learn from that stuff. So it's just a certain discipline, a discipline that helps you to prioritize what needs to be done. It allows you to say, "Hey, we had a good day. We really did a lot of good things." So you're looking at the progress, and that in itself also improves the motivation and the drive to keep on going.
Easier to get excited about it.
Yes, exactly. Um, and the other thought that I had when I was looking at that is to say, uh, a prophet is never really accepted in his own country. So where does that fit in all of that? Well, you have to have faith, and the faith is that you're going to accomplish what you set out to do, and you get other people dragged into like a draft. It's a little bit like bicycle racing. They talk about peloton, and peloton, you've got guys at the front that set the pace and they rotate to lead because it breaks the resistance. There's a drag that you have. So you want to create a drag out of what you're doing. And also, that's why it's important to think, okay, how will other people respond? Will that get them excited? Um, One of the things that I've seen in one book is they had a way of thinking through all of this. And once you've got a goal defined, he said you define 8 areas that will help you reach that goal, and it
Hmm.
should be broad. So, for instance, when I talk about the NHL, what would be that my grandson have to think? One is that you got to have speed, so you got to have skate skills. You've got to shoot. You've got to be able to aim as to just it's like I was watching this past week, 2 weeks, the World Cup for soccer, and half of the time they shoot the ball outside of the goal area, and the goal is pretty big. So how can you miss that? I don't understand that. And they're professional. Or you kick the ball to the goalie. Well, if you shoot the ball to the goalie, guess what? He's going to catch it or he's going to deflect it. So you got to be able to place it. So you got to score. Okay, how do I do that? You have to have a team that's supportive. You can't be the top scorer in the league unless you have teammates that help you set yourself up on that kind of stuff. You have to have a coach that will enhance the performance of the team and your own. If you want to reach the NHL, you need to get exposure. So how do I get some press? How do I get people to recognize the talent that I have. So you develop 8 different kind of areas that you need to plan for. Why eight? I, that's the number that the book was using. It could be six, it could be 12, it could be whatever. But once you've got those 8 areas, then the question is, for each of those areas, what are the kind of actions that I need to take? Okay. So if you've got 8 areas that you need to energize and 8 actions for each of those areas, you end up with 64 kinds of action related things. Uh, so that becomes pretty cumbersome. But the whole idea of 8 actions in 8 areas is to force you to think through what are the key things that will assure the success of what my goal is. And it could be more, it could be less, but the point is that when I was thinking, picking different areas in my life and saying, well, what about this? Sometimes it's very difficult to reach 8 areas that are significant that will get you. So it forces you to, that there's a thought process. It's not the number 8 in having 8, is to say, okay, what are the key things, key areas that need to happen?
Being able to
So,
look at it from every angle.
exactly, exactly. So when you look, I say, for instance, back to the books that we looked at, when we look at Bratton, you can see that each of the actions that he was taking were related to the overall goal of reducing crime, improving the life span, or the life
Quality of life.
quality of life in New York City. So and then you start focusing and you say, okay, 64 is a bit much to handle. So what are the 12 ones that are key? So you start and prioritize. So the whole idea of the 8 and 8 and 12 is not necessarily the number, and there's no magic to those numbers. It's just to have the discipline to think through and organize your 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 actions to reach the goal that you want to do.
Part of our
Uh,
discipline, Mike, is the time, and we're about out of time.
mm,
Thank you. This has been wonderful. Is there anything else you want to say before we conclude?
no, I think the key thing is to how do you unleash potential of yourself, and you have to believe that you can do it. And and unless you have the mindset, and that's the key thing with the Olympics or anywhere else, unless you believe that you can achieve great things, you won't get done. You won't get done. So remove the self doubt and say, okay, if this is going to happen, what are the kinds of things that I should do? And then you'll see results develop. So
That's wonderful. Thank you.
you're welcome.